All right, thank you. All right, Vern, if you want to get us started.
I will. I'll call us to order and welcome Easter Seals. We appreciate you being able to talk with us this morning and very much interested in hearing what you're going to share with us. So I'll turn it to you and you'll have presentation and then we'll have an opportunity for discussion following that.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to share with you too.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Julie Schiefling. I'm the Manager of Grants and Government Relations here at Easter Seals. I want to begin by thanking the 377 Board for inviting us to present on our new ABA Parent Training Program. I'm going to now turn it over to Caitlin Lindsley. She's a Manager of ABA and Counseling here at Easter Seals. Caitlin?
Thanks, Julie. So my name is Caitlin. As Julie said, I'm the Manager of ABA and Counseling Services. I'm also a Board Certified Behavior Analyst for Easter Seals. And so we just want to talk to you a little bit about what this parent training is, why we're pursuing it, and why it's so important right now. We truly feel at Easter Seals we do a lot of family-centered care, and so parents are a huge component of therapy because they're the best and most important caregivers in a child's life. It's really important. It doesn't matter if they can do anything good with me, you have to be able to do it at home for it to make a big difference. Parents can also carry over into all environments, school, Target, grandma's, they're always everywhere. And we have really learned that as we can alter a parent's behavior, that's how you can alter a child's behavior. And especially right now, parents need support more than they ever have before. Our families of kids with disabilities have always needed a lot of support, but that definitely is exacerbated right now. So we are looking at our parent training series because right now families who have poor private insurance or any state-funded insurance in the state of Illinois do not have ABA therapy coverage. So you really have to have pretty good insurance coverage to be able to have access to this therapy line, which limits our ability to serve underprivileged families. And so that's really why we created this training series, is so that we could access those families who don't have coverage or come from poverty or have other barriers that don't allow them to get direct therapy for their children. And we look at families who have problem behaviors with their children for all sorts of disabilities. Sometimes ABA is pegged for autism, but that's not true. We also see kids with behavioral disabilities, cognitive, developmental delays, a whole variety. And in general, in Central Illinois, wait lists are very long. So not just for ABA and Easter Seals, but all of our other ABA providers, there's a wait list everywhere you go. So this will give parents some access, even if they do have that good insurance to get therapy, it gives them access while they may be waiting for services. And so as I talk about ABA, it's very common that people don't know what ABA therapy is. It's a fairly newer therapy in the last 50 years or so. So to give you just kind of a quick overview, ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. We really analyze why behaviors occur. So like what is motivating this child to behave in the manner that they are. And we look at how can we change the environment? How can we change what happens after the behavior, their consequences? But our biggest focus is reduction of those problem behaviors. We see a lot of like running away, yelling, hitting and grabbing, aggression, or just non-compliance. Any parent, disability or not, can relate to non-compliance of wanting to do things. But we also look at increasing skill sets because as children have more skills, we naturally see problem behaviors decrease. So our parent training series that we created, it's an 8-week course. So parents, or really any caregivers, we've had grandparents who have joined too, commit for an 8-week time frame. They have 1 hour virtual meetings per week with the same therapist. So they see the same person back to back, and they really start to get to know their child and allow for some of that personalization. Families get homework every single week to complete, and some of that is really looking at their child's problem behavior. Some of it is making adaptations to things they currently do, and they give that feedback to their therapist so that they can help alter and help change what they're doing to make it more successful. Their group leader also gives them personalized feedback. So they'll send in their homework and the group leader will return like, this looked great, let's keep working on this, which is actually geared just to their child. But we also made this a group setting because parents are really struggling making good connections. We find often from our parents that their friends don't have kids with disabilities. Their friends don't understand the struggles that they're going through. And so we really wanted this to be a small group setting so that they could connect with other parents. And we really found in our pilot program, parents were connecting of like, oh, listen, we could never go to the store either. Let me tell you what we did. And so it's really nice for parents who are new into this and parents who are experienced to be sharing those connections and hopefully making some friendships and some support systems even when our series is done. So we have here what's called an ABA apprentice, and what they are is they are in graduate school. They're in their final year to become a board certified behavior analyst. So they're very well educated. They're doing a lot of training with us right now to get up to the level to be a BCBA, and they're the ones who run our parent trainings. We use a research-based curriculum called the Ruby Parent Training Series. It's very popular in ABA because it's research-based. It has a lot of research behind it of why it's effective and how we present things. And then, as I said before, it's completed virtually with the class. Our staff is usually on site, and then parents can hop on. We make it really easy. They can click on their phone, they can hop on a computer. We've even run test runs with families to make sure they have good access to get to it. So why we know it's beneficial and why we want to keep doing it, we ran a pilot program for it in this summer, and we sold out really quick. Honestly, we served 21 families and we had people calling and asking to join some more. So the interest we found was there. We started a wait list immediately, which is great. And in this pilot program, we did serve 21 families. When we serve families too, they get 2 adult spots. So it could be a mom and a dad, it could be a nanny and a dad, it could be a grandma and a mom. We offer really whatever is most important for your child. After our pilot program, we did survey families just to get some good feedback. 100% of the family surveys said that resources we shared and gave them were helpful, and 100% said they felt like their individual needs were addressed. This was really important for us because sometimes in a group setting, you can give blanket statements and you give blanket information, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to make sure it was geared to your child and helpful for your family. So we were really happy with this feedback that we got. Some parental feedback we got. One parent told us that they gained really good knowledge about behavior and strategies to cope. You know, we don't want to just tell them about their behavior. We want to give them ways that they can help improve and lessen the family stress at home. So that feedback was really helpful. We also work with community partners. So the Autism Collective does serve a lot of underprivileged families as well. They see a lot of kids who have state-funded insurance or even families who are in DCFS currently. And so they gave us good feedback too, that parents were giving them good feedback, and they felt, you know, they could really had some things to offer to these families who a lot of times get turned down because of their insurance coverage. So they were getting really good feedback as well, which is just great in strengthening our community partnerships as well. This is just some samples of some things that we did with some families. So a very beginning basic concept of ABA is teaching first then, right? First you gotta do your hard thing, then you get to do your fun thing. A lot of us use that in everyday parenting, but there are some really good strategies to make it specific to kids with disabilities. So this mom in particular went on Amazon and like got a first then board with all these cool magnets, which was great. And then our therapist was able to coach her in the best way to use that tool. So instead of just purchasing something off of Amazon that looked helpful, they now got like some guidance and the best way to implement it so that it was really helpful. And they didn't give up after it not working for a week. They had support as they implemented those. So really what we are looking for is we want to keep this parent training series grant funded. We really want to be able to reach families who couldn't afford this service and can't have the access otherwise to ABA therapy. So when we look at grant funds, we're really trying to reach kids with multiple disabilities. Even if you have good insurance, you can usually only get ABA if you have autism. So we want to make sure that we're hitting kids with developmental delays and emotional and behavioral disorders, anxiety, ADHD, lots of disabilities. Yes, and so they, when we look at it, we're not asking them, we're not asking for their paperwork to turn in a diagnosis. We're really looking at you're having problem behaviors in the home. We definitely want to be able to reach some families in poverty that are, their only supports are school, which might even be virtual right now, so they're having even less support. And then like that, it says without outside support, we find a lot of families, their kid is 8 and hasn't had any therapy services. And so we want to really reach those families who haven't been getting that support with other people up until this point.
So what we're asking for, the amount requested was $17,538. And as you can see, the largest chunk of that $16,038 goes to conduct the ABA parent training classes for 33 families, and that's at $450 a family. And that's for 2 caregivers to attend, and that includes everything. That includes the homework, the postage, everything that they need for this 8-week class. We also requested dollars for 1-year subscription to Lesson Picks for each family at a cost of $36 per family. And this is resources they can use for the entire year after the ABA parent training classes are over. There's also $1,500 in there for grant administration, including reporting, audits, site visits, etc. So thank you so much, and we're open for any questions you might have.
Interesting, because we have another agency, again, in a pediatric setting, that's talking about applied behavioral analysis. So there's some understanding and learning for our prospect. But what I like about this compared to what we were doing before, which I think was good, was instead of paying for a test, what we're doing is we're actually now training something that can last maybe forever with families. And our touch points in terms of parents and children, I think is much wider than it was before. So I think we're actually doing maybe a better job in the sense of actually doing, and it seems like this is something that is very relative and important in pediatrics. So I want to congratulate you on this. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you.
Thanks, we're a little biased, but we're really excited too.
Question, have you found funding then to substitute fund or whatever, replacement funding for the diagnostics program that we were funding previously?
Yes.
Okay.
We're covering that through another funding source.
So we are supporting this, and the 2 is that it's 2 student therapists who are running this program, right? And then how many families are they reaching?
Yep, so this grant would cover 33 families at 2 caregivers per family, so really 66 adults. And we do have 2 therapists currently who run the parent training series because we want to offer it at different times for different schedules. So we offer an evening class, and then we typically offer either a lunchtime or a very early morning before families are going to work, but after they drop their kids off. So we purposely use 2 different therapists so that we can offer different times to make it more accessible to families.
Thank you.
If I read this correctly, we are the sole funder for this program. Is that correct?
Yes, because it's a brand new program. So this time, yes, you'd be the sole funder in McLean County.
I wanted to congratulate you on finding this program. It's just wonderful, the support you can give to the parents, because they don't be, I'm sure they just have many questions about how to handle their little ones. It sounds like a great program.
Thank you. Our therapists came up with this. When they started to see the need from the families, they jumped right in.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I like too, and I knew this, but I'm glad you pointed out the fact that if you leave it as a grant program, then it's available to everyone. And as usual, I'm sure that a lot of these families are not covered by insurance, or would not be able to do it if it wasn't a grant program. So I'm impressed with that, and I'm glad you reminded us of that, or at least me. So it sounds like a great idea, especially just from a support group for these parents that not only have to deal with these problems, but now they deal with it 24/7. So
Yeah, we did
Thanks.
find in our pilot program too, we had one family who just got diagnosed with autism, have had some problem behaviors. Another family who kid had a lot of different diagnoses, has kind of been through a whole bunch of therapies, like they've been through every scenario you can imagine, and they really connected. And that mom was really giving some support of like, look, like we're in a good place now. Like, you know, there's hope for you and you'll get there. And it was just really great for our therapists to even be able to step back a little bit and let the parents form that connection with each other just for their mental health support as well.
right. I have another question too, and that is referrals. How are you going to find these 33 parents or families if the child or the children do not really have to have a diagnosis, I think you said?
Sure. So we get referrals in a couple different ways. We get a lot of phone calls of Easter Seals in general of just like, my child has this problem and I don't know what to do. And so our intake specialist really works on, do they qualify for therapy? What therapy is good for them? So she's been really well trained in what this parent training series is and can offer that up to families regardless of, you know, what their insurance coverage looks like or what their diagnosis might be. We're also in touch with different community partners. So we use the Autism Collective, we use Central Illinois Autism Association, Crittenton Crisis Nursery. You know, we've really connected with some different community partners to get their need too, because we do get some kids that are like, well, I can't go because I don't have insurance coverage or I could never afford it. So we're really focusing on reaching out to our community partners and even looking at, do we reserve, okay, 4 spots are for like this community partner, you know, and we're kind of playing around to see what's the best way to even out what we're offering. But so far we've continued to hold a wait list for each class. So we're feeling good about the referrals we're getting in and our ability to continue it.
We also have a
So you
strong,
may have 30, you may
I'm
have
sorry.
33 already waiting.
we also have a strong partnership with the Y in Bloomington.
Okay.
And we
Thank
don't have 33 waiting right now, just because we did start a series literally this week. But we filled that up from a wait list. We didn't market any of it. We didn't reach out to anyone. We wanted to give families who tried to get in our summer pilot series the first shot. So we even filled that up within, I think, 4 days of just calling families and saying, okay, we're ready to do another series. And that's without us even trying to recruit some people. So we definitely feel like the need's going to continue.
So I have one other question. The pilot program was in McLean County then, right?
Well, it's all virtual. So we had families from all different
Right.
counties.
Okay.
Mhm.
I do have another question. Since it is virtual and you're talking about families in poverty, what if they don't have the technology to be able to receive these or participate? Is there some way that they're accepted anyway and somebody provides that?
Yeah, we've actually worked with our marketing team on that, and they have some partnerships at local libraries that they've made connections to of like, could we reserve a room for this family to come in and do this series? We're lucky enough that we haven't run into that. We have found families who have gone to like their parents' house to do the series. You know, they've kind of figured that out on their own. But we have spoken with marketing to make connections to local libraries to be able to offer that service for them there.
Okay.
I have a quick question too. So for the 3, how would you guys use discernment on those that would need the 377 funding versus families that would not need the 377 funding that would be able to pay for it on their own? Because it sounds like you guys will service more than 33, 21.
This isn't covered in the private insurance. is it?
Yeah, so this class isn't covered under private insurance. I mean, it could be if we did full assessments on kids, but that's really costly to families. So we are not currently charging insurance companies for this series. We're working really hard to try to just keep it grant funded so that we can like target those specific families we're looking for. Typically when families call in and are looking for ABA services, they do do have insurance coverage. And like, really the best thing is for that kid to get ongoing ABA therapy. So if they do have the insurance coverage, they're probably going to ABA therapy. This was our way to hit kids who aren't able to access that ABA therapy or have a very long wait list for it.
So do you feel like you would provide services? You said one class is 20. Was that correct? I can't remember how many was in the 8-week class.
How many families?
How many families are in the 8-week class?
We have found probably about 5 to 6 per class is the max, just because of like the tech component of it. We had one class in our pilot series that was like 9, and that was really overwhelming for all the families. So that's why we've broken it up into smaller, but then we offer multiple lines per week to hit more families.
Okay, that makes sense. I was thinking a higher number, but do you feel like there would be a chance you would need to service more than 33 kids in 21? I'm just curious how you guys came up with the 33 number.
I mean, it's hard for us to predict an entire year out, I would say, because we've only ran a summer pilot. So we tried to base it off of that with an expected, to continue doing multiple semesters. But I think that's fair to say is we don't know as this grows, we definitely might have a larger need. We really only had one semester to kind of base it off of. And so that's kind of where we pulled from the pilot program.
Thank you. And just a reminder to everyone, we have 4 minutes. We don't have to have the 4 minutes, but does anybody have any
I was like, I mean, I can sit here for 4 minutes if you want.
Does anybody have anything else? And going to wrap up Easter Seals at 9:30. Did anybody else have any other questions?
No, I don't have any other questions, and I was going to say thanks to Easter Seals for bringing this to us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the consideration. We're really excited about the families we get to serve here. And so I just want to thank you for considering us and listening to our pitch, because we're really passionate about it. That doesn't mean everyone is, but we're excited to talk about these things all the time.
And then I do have just one last clarification. There are the two therapists that are in training to be BCBAs. And I heard that you said you are BCBA and you would be supervising the program overall. Is that correct?
Yeah, I supervise them on a weekly basis, and I even go into some of their parent training classes and give feedback to them and support and consult with it throughout the entire series,
Okay.
and worked with them at the development of it too.
Great. Thank you for that.
I have an overview question, and could you give us an update on Easter Seals moving into its new facility?
Oh yeah, we just broke ground on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah, they literally just broke ground about a month ago.
I think, yeah, I want to say it was about a month
And I
ago.
think they're looking hopefully to get in early 2022, possibly.
And I know like on our end, we are constantly going through like equipment needs and furniture needs, so that right when that building is ready, I mean,
We can go.
we're ready. We want to give therapy in there as soon as it's stable for us to enter. So we are working on our therapeutic side as they're working on the construction as well.
Good.
Well, thanks for your presentation. We wish you luck.
Great.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving us your time.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.
And I think I actually,
Mark First is scheduled to log in at 9:35. I will email them to see if they are possible to maybe get logged in just a couple minutes early. Their presentation is not scheduled to start until 9:40, so we have about an 8 to 9 minute window right now. just for our board members, we do have some of Mark First starting to log in. So just wanted to give you that notice.
Muted. Okay.
Good morning, Mike. And good morning, Jolene.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks, guys, for logging in. Our next presentation, starting at 9:40, will be Mark First, Partnerships in Health. Our presenters are Dana and Catherine, and they're scheduled from 9:40 to 9:55. Hi, Dana.
Hello.
Thanks for getting logged in. Once we get, let's see, Catherine on, we can we could get started here a couple minutes early.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks. All right, looks like we have everyone from Mark First here. Can I just get a confirmation that we have Jan?
You have to unmute me. I'm here.
Awesome,
Can you hear me?
Vern, take it away.
There's Catherine.
There I am. Sorry.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, she went away.
Oh, I'm still here.
Okay, thank you.
Phone and people keep calling me for some reason. So
Uh,
Sorry.
You're a busy person, that's why.
thank you.
Thanks for your time this morning and doing it this way. This is obviously a program that we've had some involvement in for several years, but we seem to be in somewhat of a new environment. So maybe that's part of our discussion as well. We'll go ahead and give you a chance to make a presentation and discuss and share what you want to share. And then we'll have an opportunity to discuss and raise questions. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity this morning. And while technology seemingly makes our life easier in some situations, like when we want people to exercise, it is a new challenge. I will say, though, that the team really has risen to the challenge, and that's the center team here and the Mark First team, just to continue to do what we can to help keep people healthy. Folks in the PIH program and also in our community, we're still passionately focused on that despite the challenges that this is bringing this year. So this year it unfortunately ended when we were in stay at home. So the program ended in March. It's typically the time we do our assessments. Every quarter, we bring all of the residents back in and do all of their metrics. So I guess my first report is that those metrics were a little bit delayed this year. We did not do them in the beginning of April, like when we should have and would have, but we did do them in end of June, beginning of July. And I think that told us a few things. One, that the trend lines that we were seeing for favorable outcomes were quickly affected by not having the participants in the center. Not drastically, but enough for us to say, that's one of those discoveries, a COVID discovery, if you will, that, even if their visits are not every day or 3 times a week, we did see a change in some of those metrics for our participants. But again, not huge. I will say that I'm just beyond thrilled that the number of visits per month continues to go up every year. And just to dive a little bit deeper into that, we had 9 of our 20 residents exceed the 7 visits per month goal. So almost 50%. And on average, the average was 5.4 visits. So some of our residents had 8, 9, 10 visits per month, which I work here and I struggle to get that many. So that tells me they're enjoying it, that provides them that social community. They feel successful that they can do it. And wow, I think that's just a really great outcome that we continue to see change year after year. We did have 2 of the participants move from being hypertensive into the normal range, and that was unmedicated. So that could have been from activity, weight loss, a variety of those things. But again, that is a very important metric when we're looking at chronic diseases and in the middle of a pandemic, when that's one of the challenges of folks in the event that they get COVID-19 have more struggles. Um, 62% of the participants are able to report that they're able to do their workout on their own. Again, creating that independence and a place that they feel safe is also something that we're very proud of. Here's another one that is really cool too. 33% travel to the center on their own. And as we meet with Amy and we talk about some of the challenges that we have in programs, like support programs have, it's some of the participants can't go on their own. We have to find support staff to help. And so 33% can travel on their own. Again, just like there's so many wins this year, and that's why I don't want to talk about too much of the COVID challenges. And, in the center with membership, with our PH programs, with many of our programs, we had to figure out how to pivot. And if our goal is still to provide health and wellness to folks, how do we pivot and continue to do that? And the PAH program was no different. So March, we all sat at home. April, we all sat at home. And then we pretty much said, we're done with this. The weather's changing. So in May, the coaches actually traveled to the homes and met the residents outside on the lawn for socially distanced workouts. They were not the same as being in the center for an hour class or any, with all kinds of equipment, but it was movement, it was fresh air, and it was connecting with folks outside their home. And, really great because we had some participants who came outside and loved it. And Dana could tell you more about that and sort of those stories. So we were able to provide workouts at home and travel to the different homes. And then to supplement that, so they could at least have 3 opportunities per week, we provided exercise prescriptions for home workouts. And Jenna, who's sort of our lead coach on this now, provided videos and surprised us all because she was doing Zumba dance, which is not a Jenna thing, who played hockey all of her life. And that one surprised me. So, maybe that's a lot of stuff that I threw at you, but I'll pause to see if there's any questions. Okay. All right. Maybe Dana, you could talk about some of the stories and then talk about the NISA awards.
Sure. Yep. So just to kind of touch on the social distance workouts, like Catherine said, they started in May. And then we kind of gave it a trial run for a week. We traveled to 3 different locations at Mark First Houses, and just the spaces that had the most yard space, just to allow the more people to come out and actually enjoy the workouts, which was fun. We saw some people that aren't actually part of the program come out and enjoy those workouts, which was really amazing to see. And then just a week after we did the start of the social distance workouts, we added a Zoom aspect. So I would go and I would record them on Zoom during the social distance workouts, just to give that opportunity to the rest of the houses that we support. So we actually now have more regularly scheduled Zoom workouts. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have regularly scheduled Zoom workouts, and everyone just loves them. It's really fun to see, just because these coaches are really special to the people that we support, and they've made friendships with them, which is really awesome to see. And the coaches are just so wonderful and encouraging to everyone that we support, even if they're not part of the program, which has been really fun to see. So that is the biggest story that I think I could tell, is that we've reached more people and individuals that we support through the Zoom workouts, which has been kind of special because the pandemic has been really hard for a lot of people. So this has been a bright spot for more people than just who we support during this program. So I've seen more interest in the program from people in the homes, which honestly has been kind of hard to get that encouragement and that interest. So to see that during this pandemic has been wonderful. So that has been the brightest spot for me. Also, the coaches have been able to make more of a in-depth relationship I would say, with the people that we support because they are seeing them in their homes. It might be through the computer screen, but they're able to see things that are special to them. One person, he loves his monkey, his stuffed monkey, and he gets to show that off and help that monkey do his workouts. So I think that's just the funnest thing, and the coaches enjoy it as well. So let's see here. Less signal, yeah. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
I think I'm back.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
I can hear you, Dana.
She can go on the phone, right? If need be.
Yeah. Yes. While we're waiting, Vern, did I send you year 3 infographic that had the statistics of
I
the,
think you did, yes.
okay, good. Yeah, I think I would just say, maybe as I'm looking at it, 2 more points. 14% of the participants have been in the program since the inception, and 16 have been in the program since 2017. So about 67% of our participants have continued these 3 years.
It's so exciting that this continues to be so embraced by everybody. And
Yeah.
I wondered when you're going to those homes and the other people that live in the homes, it sounds like they're enjoying it too. They're coming out and joining in. That's just wonderful.
It is. And, what I really like about that and just sort of the psychological impact of wellness is more than just coming to the gym for my hour and then leaving, but wellness is what's happening in my house and what's happening with my housemates. And I think we really, really probably it was a discovery of some of the folks of like, wow, I can do this here. I could be active in my home. And
Right.
and that's one thing where, as we're finding with members through this pandemic, that some members say, that's not my thing. I don't want to be active at home. I like coming to the gym. I don't want to exercise over Zoom. But some of us don't have a choice. And if we want to continue to take care of ourselves, we have to sort of accept the alternative of virtual workouts. Certainly not 100% the same. And then some people really like them. I mean, there's online fitness is $1 billion business with apps and videos and everything. So, but I would say it's certainly been a positive that we've been able to work the technology out so we can support in the homes. And just recently, there's a group, Dana, I think you're back now. I can see you.
Yep.
We have a group of participants who are back in the center and working out. So we're very excited about that too.
Oh, good.
So I think I was also going to talk about the NISA award. I don't know if you did, Catherine, while I was gone.
Nope, go ahead.
So the center created an award after one of our participants, Nisa. She passed away just, I think, a couple of years ago. I don't remember the exact date, but she was wonderful and so excited to always be in the center. One of her biggest goals during her time at the center was to walk, and she was in a wheelchair, and she made that goal before she got sick and could no longer go to the gym. So that was just an amazing thing to see, for not only a goal for her to accomplish, but also for the coaches to see the difference that they were making in her life, which was pretty awesome. So we have a goal, an award named after her, and somebody who is showing just motivation and going to the gym as much as they can, or participating now in these online Zoom workouts, is getting this award presented to them. So right before the pandemic actually put us on lockdown, one of our participants got this award, and he was just so excited because he got it at the center, and it was after a swimming class that we had done. So he was totally surprised. So he was very excited about that. He had lost, I believe, 15 pounds during the quarter and was very active in going to the gym at least, I think, 2 times a week. And he had warmed up to the coaches, which for him was a big deal because he's a very quiet, reserved guy. So opening up to the coaches was a really big deal for him. But this quarter, we are presenting an award actually today, which is pretty exciting. I get to go give the award during our Zoom workout. And this fellow has been at almost every single Zoom workout that we have done and has been excited, and actually gotten one of his housemates to be excited who's not part of the program. So they work out together every time, which is really awesome. And so I'm excited to go give him that award today. But and we're just going to continue doing that. And I think that award is just the most meaningful award that we could have. And everyone just appreciates it and knows how big of a deal it is.
Are there any questions?
Catherine, you talked about how you changed strategies this summer. As we're heading into the cold season now, with March and April further out on us, are there any new ones, or are you just going to improve on some of the things you've done? We're going back to the homes or doing things on Zoom and still having people that you mentioned come into the center to work out anyway.
Yep. So we meet weekly to talk about how just quickly things are changing, how to prepare for the months ahead. One of the tools that we've been able to continue to build on is our app. And through our app, we have workouts of the day, chat functions with coaches. We do have videos on demand. So if perhaps somebody wants to try a yoga class, they would be able to go to the app and pick a yoga class. The on-demand classes are professionally produced, so they're not our instructors, but the nice thing is that there's 100 of them. There's all different formats, some seated chair, some HIIT training and boxing, and they're short. They're anywhere between 15 and 35 minutes, and so we know that people can sort of fit them in their day. It can be accessed from a computer too. So if any of the homes have a computer, or if the daycare staff has, or day staff has a phone, it all accessed, and that's included in everyone's membership. So we've got additional programming that can be reached virtually or in the home setting, and giving people just a lot of choices, whether it's our group fitness classes, the on-demand, the workout of the day, the ability to connect with the coach. We also are starting to make some of our extra programs, like the meditation, to be available virtually as well. So not just supporting physically, but how are people doing mentally, and how are they doing not being connected to others. So we had, I know Phyllis was on, I think one of them or a few of them, the Cup of Joe with J. Joe, just an attempt to try and connect with folks, because there is a population that it's just not safe for them to be here. So we continue to try and think of those opportunities. We've even talked about, well, we do rent equipment. So if folks are at home, we allowed them to rent some of our steps and weights so they could have them at home, and just continually try to think of those ways to help.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yes.
I just wanted to say, I think you guys are doing a fabulous job of being innovative here and reaching out to the clients in their homes and so forth. But I also want to say to all the rest of the committee and Amy and everybody, or the board, excuse me, that the center is doing a fabulous job of making me feel clean, safe, sanitized. I swear you must have extra staff because they are constantly cleaning equipment all the time.
Mhm.
And locker rooms are closed for sanitizing. I mean, I have never felt unsafe in the center. So I think it's great that we are able, that Mark first feels safe to at least start bringing some clients back in. Because although it's wonderful to work out in their homes, I'm sure the clients miss being in the center. So kudos to you guys. That's all I say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you know, are any other workout centers? I think there was some interest in what was happening with this particular population. Are there any other workout centers that you know of that are starting to address this on their own?
I'm not aware of any. That doesn't mean they're not. I'm not aware of
Yeah.
any. The YMCA did have a program probably in 2017, but it was a short term. I think it was like a 8-week program and with Homes of Hope, and it for whatever reason was short term. Then I know that Homes of Hope had reached out to see if there was opportunities for any of their residents, and certainly we couldn't expand the program. The question is funding and what are those
Right.
sources. And so as far as availability here in the center, it's always a yes, but continue to work. And one of the employees from Homes of Hope actually teaches group fitness here. So we have a good relationship and a good connection in the event that it ever could happen. But I'm not aware of any that I am right now.
I guess I was thinking more statewide too. I guess we've lost when you were Advocate, you had a different network to work with, but now you're Carl, and I don't know what kind of network you have or if they're even aware of what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And Carl
Yeah.
is aware of it. I would say probably statewide, though, we would probably lean on Amy a little bit to help tell
Yeah.
that story. And there were some conferences that Laura and I went to report the story and report our process, and folks were interested in it. And but that was a few years ago, so it probably lean on Amy to help us get that story out and tell.
Okay.
That's certainly something that we could work on now.
Yeah. We don't want it to be a secret.
Right. I can follow up with Amy afterwards and just share where we went. We went to a conference in St. Louis, I think.
I also agree with that, Jan, because I remember, Catherine, I think it was last year or year before that you presented a lot of statistics to us about fewer ER visits, better behavior, lower blood pressure, weight. Those are the kinds of things that I know we've had a couple of articles in the Panagraph, but now that, and I know you guys have publicized it, but now that Carl's involved, perhaps they would help us a little more to get this word out to the public and remind them. I mean, it's a Carl thing now. And so I just think we need to get that word out to the public. We're saving money. By doing this program, we are saving a lot of money with medical visits and et cetera.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay. And that was back to the original conversation we had it with Vern. That was one of the big goals, is to how can we decrease the cost of the chronic conditions in the population with intellectual and developmental disabilities, because we know the facts that they die 25 years sooner than somebody without a disability. So yeah, that was the big goal. And then all of a sudden, all these other wins came through the program. So how do we tell our story better and bigger to not just our community, but statewide? Okay.
Please refresh my memory on what percentage of the Mark First people that are in the residential program are in the exercise program at the wellness center, with the wellness center.
Becky, would you be able to answer that question? Because I'm not positive. I can't remember. I know there's about 20.
It's about, in all of our programs, intermittent SILA and 24-hour SILA, we have 20 out of 50 out of 60, so 30%.
Okay.
33%, yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
And this program is only available to the Mark First people that are in residential setting and not the ones that are in supportive employment?
Yeah,
'Cause
we
have
do.
people in supportive
No.
employment that are not in the home settings, correct?
No, that's, case, Miss Mary, this is Mike. We do have three folks who come to our day program.
Okay,
And live at home with mom and dad, who also participate in this, because we've used our day program and our staff down there as a way to get folks to the facility when it's open. Now,
okay.
since COVID, they haven't been able to really do that. So, but yeah.
And that just reminded me of a fact, and I believe, I know Amy and Bern know this, but during the months that we were closed, we did not charge members, and we did not charge the program for the memberships during that time. So April and May were not charged months. And that is not the case with some other fitness centers in the community. Okay, Amy, any other thoughts or things that you want us to touch on?
Let me check I'm trying to like listen to you two guys and also let me check the schedule real quick.
We're doing good.
I had one other question.
We have 5 minutes
I
left on this
believe-
one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, I believe in the proposal you said that we do pay all the membership fees, but I think in all your proposals, you said you were going to try to have 3 fundraisers. Have you been able to do anything during COVID for fundraising?
No.
Is that a Mark Hughes question or
Really, it's a Mark question. I think.
It's a Mark First question? Sure.
I think so.
We did have our Divine Affair, and it was done virtually this year in September. Our golf outing had to be canceled. That was supposed to be in June. And we did instead we did send out like an appeal, and the response on that was pretty minimal. And then we'd also had a fundraising breakfast scheduled for April, and that was also canceled. So as of now, really the one thing that we did have was our Divine Affair back in September. We are going to be doing a holiday appeal next month, and then we do have events planned, 3 events planned for next year.
Thanks. I just wondered. I mean, I I've been to a lot of virtual affairs and I wondered how successful they are. There's nothing like in person for fundraising.
Our virtual affair actually went pretty good. We based it out of our new pediatric therapy center, but then we had people host at their homes and Biaggi's hosted. So we did better than we thought we were going to do with that. So.
And just we only have a couple minutes left, and just a couple of highlights to as far as like the membership fees. They continue to be since the beginning of the program of 2017. There hasn't been any type of inflation, so they continue to be the same cost on behalf of Carl Health and Fitness Center, and also. One of the challenges that we have talked about, which is probably when it's more in person, and maybe this will be something that will be talked about next year, is the transportation. And which I'm glad to hear that 33% are making it there on their own. So that's amazing, because sometimes the transportation and staff time has been a barrier or a challenge in some of the staff being able to get there. And so that's something that we've talked about during site visits, like pre-COVID. Obviously discussions changed during COVID, but pre-COVID was, like if there were other funding opportunities within this grant to help with transportation or staff time to make sure that folks were able to get there. But so just wanted to kind of like highlight some of the discussions pre-COVID, and then with COVID, I know it turned more into how do we just get individuals involved and keep them safe? But hopefully, eventually, we will be in recovering from this pandemic. And so that might come, I'm assuming that will come back up again. Is there any other questions or feedback or anything for Dana or Catherine? Dana, are you on the supported living one too?
Yep, I'll be on that one.
Keep up the good work, Catherine. You're doing well.
Thank you. Thanks. Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, you too. And
Thank you.
yeah, Mark First and Catherine's team have an excellent collaboration. So thank you guys so much for all of your work.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Take care, Catherine.
Bye-bye.
Jeff, do
Okay,
you
so
want
next
to?
will be supported living.
Yeah.
They are going to be logging in here in just a few minutes.
Jeff,
Yes.
this is Mike. Becky's in my office with me. I don't know if everybody has to log out and log back in. But
No.
Becky, okay, so we can probably just move right into that. And I need to get her out of my office. She's annoying, so. Not really.
Okay, board members, is everyone okay with us getting started a tad bit early on supported living?
Fine.
Excellent. Vern?
No, you're not.
All right. Hi, everyone. So for supported living, we currently support 46 residents in our 24-hour program, which is our SOLAS, our Community Integrated Living Arrangement. And with each home, it takes an on-site supervisor to run. And under these supervisors, we have direct care staff who help run our programs. So part of our program, we have an obligation to support people with the basic assurance of just having the best possible health. And so part of what we do to implement best possible health is just working towards preventative care measures and mental health care needs through activities such as personal care assistance, medication administration, community and home, recreation and leisure activities. So this is why it's important for us in collaboration with our supervisors to work closely with our wellness coordinator to plan and assist with activities based on the level of support needs each resident requires. Our current funding that we are requesting from 377 board is not currently funded under this model that we have. And so with our on-site supervisors, our associate director of wellness, and our new position that we're hoping to fill with a wellness specialist, we're hoping that that helps us with our evidence-based assessments to just ensure that we are providing that best possible health. And so what we proposed in our, or I guess our proposal, are just what we would do to help provide that and what the funding would help us with. And that would be to work towards some objectives that will help just better improve health. Our first one is reducing the number of residents who experience unexpected physical health concerns. So running into the ED or the emergency room. The other objective would be just reducing number of residents who turn to physical aggression, self-injury, and property destruction in order to communicate their needs. So we're hoping with providing, activities and just overall wellness that we can reduce some of that. And our newest objective that we're adding this year, pardon me, is by using our personal outcome measures that we have several people here at Mark First trained to do, which is an evidence-based assessment, that we would be able to improve quality of life for people just based on building connections, feeling safe in their home and with their finances and overall health. Also just feeling free from possible abuse and neglect situations. And so those are kind of some of the things that we would like to measure over the next year to ensure that we're providing that to people. So that's essentially what our funding will request. And with our new position that we're hoping, our wellness specialist, that would really help in aiding Dana, who is our wellness coordinator, with some of those tasks just to help monitor and help plan. And Dana, do you want to share some of what the wellness specialist might do?
Yep. So there are 4 sections that I've kind of thought about as far as for the wellness specialist that would help me out immensely. One of the programs that I run is called ROAM. It's Recreational Opportunities at Mark First. So in this program, we go to various community events when we're able to, like concerts and sporting events. Pretty much anything I can find in the community, we will go to as long as I can get them there and find enough staff. So something that I would love for the wellness specialist to do is to create a monthly calendar and have a sign-up sheet for our residents to be able to sign up for activities that they're interested in doing. And then helping me carry out those events. So having just a second person available for those events and helping me out. Another program that I run is Special Olympics. That's the team, our Mark First team. So we participate in bocce ball and bowling. So this person would help me coordinate all of the transportation for getting our people to and from the bowling alley and the practice locations and also the main events. And then I also am in charge of Friends First. It's another social program, and this wellness specialist will help me on Tuesdays during our meeting times and helping me prep and clean up and creating a monthly calendar of all of our activities. And then we also document on that program for like attendance. So they would help me with the documentation part of Friends First. And then as far as wellness, they would have a membership for the PAH program to help me get people to and from that program and really coordinate to make sure that transportation issue is a little bit less than it is now. So just having more hands on deck and being able to help me navigate through those programs and just being more than myself, basically.
In collaboration with our on-site supervisors as well.
Yes.
And so that is ultimately what we are asking for our supported living. Are there any questions?
I just really quickly wanted to highlight for one of the things that I've learned about the supported living program that I want to make sure that the 377 board has information on is that, so they have the office support, not office support specialist, sorry, I'm thinking of my OSS. They have the CELA direct support professionals in the homes 24/7, providing safety, quality, whatever in that home. So that's basically Mark first, you'll have to help me out here, but like that would probably basically like the minimum that a supported living program would have to do is say, here's this professional and they're in your home. And then the state, how does the state pay for the DSPs? Mark first.
That's through the Medicaid waiver program. That's how we're funded. That's
The funding's based on a couple of factors. One is the acuity of the disability of the folks living, or for each person, and also the number of folks living in the home. So the rates vary from home to home. The rate really doesn't take into account the added supports needed to get people out and doing things in the community that we all know clearly benefits their mental health as well as their physical health. And that's where the OSSs really come into play.
And can you remind me one more time what the OSS stood for? I can't get office support specialist out of my mind.
on-site supervisor.
On-site, okay, supervisor. And so with the supported living program, it really does a lot more than that. So it provides, gosh, can I think of it like things within the home for those individuals to feel comfortable, whether it's fidget, sensory, lighting, like Dana was talking about, and Becky, like activities, the way that things are set up in the home, like, so like the funding from the 377 board isn't just saying like, here's this on-site supervisor in this home. Like they really try to do a lot to make sure individuals have a high quality life, and then that helps with the on-site professionals to not be so stressed, because the individuals living in the home are healthy mentally, physically, they're doing things, they're getting worn out. So like I just wanted to just quickly just highlight, like it took me a little bit to fully understand this program, that it's not just these individuals kind of doing activities, like there's tons of benefits to what is being done, so.
And Amy, just to kind of piggyback on that, I think not this year, but the year before, the 377 board granted us, I think, some additional money. And what Dana was able to do was go into the homes and change the environment a little bit. I know, I think actually we had one of our quarterly meetings at one of the homes where they had the room set up with a swing and just some different lighting. And then we also purchased manipulatives and different types of sensory items that folks could use as calming and things like that. So we really try and take a holistic approach to how we support our folks' mental and physical wellness in the homes, with, making sure that they keep their doctor's appointments. And then we have the My 25, which is a diet plan that we use in our homes. And then on top of that, what Dana is able to do with, kind of above and beyond just meeting those basic needs for folks in the home, really kind of building on that and making sure that people have a good quality of life. It's been more challenging, I would say, the last 7 months to do that, but we're doing the best we can. Uh-oh.
And the funding that you guys are requesting for this program, because this one, just to clarify, since it is a blended funding between the state and the 377 board, the funding that you guys are requesting for this program is money that would not be received, is money that's not received from the state or the families. It's money that is only would only be available from the 377 board. Is that correct?
Correct.
Jolene's on the call.
That was a very fast correct, Jolene.
Yeah, well, I am, but I'm also doing school, so I'm trying to be fast.
Any other questions?
I have a Mark first question. As soon as I find it. I thought someone said right at the first that currently the 377 board does not fund us at all. That's not correct, is it?
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, gosh, no.
No,
No.
we're
Only-
down, I mean, according to what I'm reading, you are asking for $172,500 less than you did last year. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, and the difference is, Phyllis, is that last year, the 377 board was very generous in granting us additional funding to purchase a documentation and billing system.
Oh, that's right.
That's why so
Right.
that's really what we're asking for this year. I think is for the actual, like the OSS and the wellness is pretty similar to what we had asked for last year. Is that
Okay.
right, Jolene?
Yeah, I think it's about $15,000 difference in what we typically would ask for supported living. So it's really close.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Quite a bit of time on supported living. Was there any clarifying questions on the board from the board or anything else as far as any highlights, any clarification from the application? You're on mute, Vern. Vern, you're on mute.
Okay. Am I off now?
We can hear you now.
Okay. No, essentially it's for personnel to support the supportive living and improve the quality of life and safety.
Correct. There is some, we're requesting some funding for program supplies, and that would be just what we had talked about earlier.
Right. Yeah. One of the first tours that I was ever on was about a half a day and visiting some of the homes, and I was very impressed with what they were doing then. I can imagine that this is very enhancement for it.
Yes.
Very much so.
I have a question for somebody. I don't even know who can answer this. But in one of the objectives, you guys mentioned CASPER, C-A-S-P-E-R. Could you tell me what that is?
That's our current billing system. That's the system that we plan to replace with the new billing system that we were able to purchase.
Okay.
With the long list of people waiting on the PUNS list, is there any plan by, long-range plan by Mark First to have more residential place or settings, homes?
Yeah, I think we've been working towards a strategic plan, and increasing our census is definitely a part of the plan. But it really is dependent on staff support. So our hopes is to continue to increase our census and bring in as many people.
Do you find that there are people in the community? I know of one incident where the mother has two DD and intellectually disabled children. The home, she built the family home so that it could be used as a group home. And she now has moved out of the home, and one of the agencies in town has taken over the home as their home and added 2 students. Do you have anybody that's thinking of doing that sort of thing and working with Mark First?
We currently have 2 homes that are owned by parents that we've made into group homes.
Okay.
But did I understand correctly that increasing census according to the strategic plan you're working on, depends on staff support, is that correct?
Correct.
That it's more getting the right staff is really more critical at this point than finding a facility. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
One of the challenges with growth too for us is that the number of folks we're supporting who are over age 50 and 60 make up a pretty good percentage of who we support. So, we could, so we're always concerned about attrition. And so, we could say maybe we want to bring in maybe 5 new people over the next year, or increase the census of the residential program to 55 or 60. But to do that, we might have to bring in 20 brand new people, because in that time frame, we could have 10 people have to move out or pass away. So it's a little bit like playing chess, I guess. We kind of have to think a couple, 3 moves ahead when we're planning and taking into account some factors. So, that's one of the challenges we've had this year. We had 2 individuals pass away. They were older. Shouldn't say that, one of them was my age. And we do have people to take their place, but actually the places they were moving into were 2 of our homes that had the COVID. So we've had to delay that, but they'll be moving in shortly.
Are there any other questions regarding supported living? This one was scheduled to go to 10:45, and the next one is supported employment. That was to start at
One question.
50.
Could you tell me approximately how many do you have living in supportive living, and how many are on the waiting list? Approximately.
We currently have 46 people in our 24-hour program, and we don't currently have a waiting list.
Oh,
We have 2
Thanks.
people we approved to admit, but and the openings are there for them. We just had to get past this COVID thing.
I would just like to say thank you for what you do. It's a wonderful opportunity you provide these individuals to be, I don't know, you can't say independent living, but to be able to live in a different environment, to kind of leave a home and have their own home. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
And just to quickly clarify, Mike, about and Becky, about the waiting list, you guys, supported living, you would pull from wherever you would need, the Puns or wherever, once there was an opening. So then that way there's not individuals in need of a home just waiting. That way they look for somewhere else.
Yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that it's not a program that can have a waiting list, because then you're waiting for someone to pass away or get too sick to not be able to live there anymore. So it's once those unfortunate things happen is then when Mark first would look into opening up a slot for someone else. That was a horrible way of saying that, sorry.
I mean, essentially that is what
but I
happens.
appreciate that explanation. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, and if we were to see applications come through, that's when we would, we kind of hold that information. Now they would continue to look for other placement, but we would reach back out to those families, if we were going to open another home in the future, and see if they had found services, or if they, or if they were happy with their services, and we would be able to move forward with that. But yeah, typically we don't keep a waiting list.
think that's all of the questions for supported living. Mark, first, can we take a 5-minute break and would you guys be ready to move on with supported employment?
Yeah, Jeff, you have to just email Ann and Kaylee and Hannah. I forget who's on that list. I don't have my calendar up. But yeah, it'll,
Supported employment has Ann on it.
just Ann, okay, yeah.
And an email that we're ready at, do we want to do 10:40 then? Take about
I
a
can put
5-minute
that on the
break.
timer. So yeah, a break would be good.
Okay,
Amy?
let's take a break until 10:40. And I'll let I'm sending Ann an email now that
Amy?
Amy, I have it. Amy, I
Thank
have
you.
that. Mhm.
Thank you, Jeff, because I do not. All right, let's take it to.
Can we see the presenters, see them on the screen? It's far more effective to see what someone's speaking and see them instead, because it's blacked out on my screen.
Mine too.
Mike, are you still there to answer that? They may not have a camera either.
I think the Wi-Fi at the building is kind of spotty. So,
I can come back on too. I'm Dana. I was the one who was on the PIH earlier.
Right.
Okay, we can ask Mike after the break if they have a camera
All right.
available.
Thank you.
I'm trying to
All right,
turn
An email has been sent to Ann.
on my camera. I do have one. Would this work on the phone?
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm not sure what would be going on there. When you have your camera, the button, is it green or is it gray?
It's white.
It's white.
And it
So
just says,
that
it
should
just-
allow you to turn it on. That's
that's what
weird.
it says. So when I turned it on, I mean, when I first got on, I could see, it looked like it was working, but now that we're in the meeting, then it's not working. And I tried to, what I can do, I don't have a microphone on my desktop. I could maybe, I'll try and get on the meeting, on my desktop. And then maybe that'll work as far as the
Why-
camera. I don't know why it's not working on the laptop.
Okay. Yeah, because if it's white, that definitely is something. And I'm the one who sent you that request for webcam. So I'm not real sure why that's not working.
Okay, let me see. Let me try this.
Does your audio work, Ann? Just want to check before you start. I think you're on mute.
Oh, there we go. Does that work better?
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to do a mic check.
All
We'll
right,
get
thank
started
you.
I think we're scheduled, Amy, for 10:40 to get started.
We're gonna go ahead and start 5 minutes early if that's okay, Anne.
Sure,
And-
sure. I think
and-
so. I think I'm ready. I hope.
To make sure we have Mary back, and then we'll get a check on Jan.
I'm here. This is Jan.
Awesome, thanks, Jan.
Yeah.
So, Ann, will just be another minute or so while we wait for our last board member to come back from break.
Sure, sure, of course. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing good. It's great
Good,
hearing all
good.
the wonderful services that you provide to the special population.
Oh,
And
thank
you
you.
you have a huge job
Oh,
with the employment, with the employment. It's fun
Oh.
kind of seeing some of the workers as you move around in the community.
oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky to have a great team. Makes it easy, right?
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the gentleman who loves Star Wars.
Would it
He
be
was
Jack?
he was working at Walgreens as a checker.
Oh, let's
And he
see.
was telling me everything I need to know and more about Star Wars.
That's awesome.
I loved it. He had a great personality. You know.
Oh, it is. That's the exciting part, right? Is learning everybody and like how who they are as people and
Yeah.
really
Well,
enjoying.
and how they relate. How they
Yes.
relate to the people that they're working with. It's really fun.
For sure. Absolutely.
All right, it looks like we have everyone back from break. So we'd like to welcome Ann, and we'll start your presentation.
Okay, thanks guys. So this year we're gonna do is it about 15 minutes? And then we'll have questions after, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep, you'll have
Yep.
15 minutes, and the board will have 15 minutes for questions.
All right, sounds good. Well, as I'm sure a lot of you can imagine, this last year has been very interesting and one of great change. I think for SEP, that really began just around this time when we all suddenly found out that UCP was going to be withdrawing from employment services. And, you know, between that and the entrance of COVID into our lives, we've had a lot of things thrown at us, but I've also been really impressed with the team and how they've been able to adapt and innovate through all of this. And kind of as we look now, where we are now and into the future, I guess my greatest hope is that we can do that, you know, with open eyes and also to just kind of have in mind the realities and gather the information that we really need to help our program to be as stable as it can, to take into consideration lots of different things, right? We need to be sustainable. We need to see the community and what the community needs are. And we really need to balance that with, we feel in our hearts that we need to balance that with best practice. Because without that stability of best practice, then it's all for naught, I guess. So, you know, one thing that we've realized in the last few months as well is that, you know, what happened to UCP last year is not an isolated incident. Throughout the state of Illinois, there are many supported employment programs. And I would say since the hit of COVID, many supported employment programs that no longer exist. In addition to that, as we've looked through the financial pieces of our program, we really realized that we need to make some changes in order to stay afloat. So what we've done and what we're continuing to do is just really dig in, you know, find out the information, find out more data about what we do, how we do it, and then really look at that and figure out some ways that we can make sure to stabilize and think about the future and how we can grow our program to rise to meet the needs that the community has. And, you know, this goal would simply not be possible without funding from the 377 board. This has been such a gift throughout all the years that we've been working together. It has allowed us to maintain that best practice and really rise to that need whenever we can. You know, it's our dedication. Mark First has this great dedication and goal of community employment. It's just led to so many great relationships throughout the community, and that's with employers, it's with families, it's with schools. We are so lucky to have developed those, and it helps us to see that broader view of what types of things are needed, not just in what we do, but what's maybe needed in the whole system to function better and to capture those needs better. So one emphasis that we would like to bring to the table in the next year is in creating those more resources and planning that will kind of bring that system of support for a person, bring that into place by really working and not taking advantage of, but working more collaboratively with all of our partners to just make that experience better for everyone. There's a few ways that we do this. We're very lucky as well to have our transition team. And it really helps us to be able to kind of put those pieces together a little bit faster. When we're able to talk to parents earlier on, those things that we've been coming to talk to you about for the last few years, those customized employment pieces, we've realized too that is something that takes a lot of time to do. And hey, maybe parents can be a part of that. And maybe they can really bring a lot of information to the table that adds efficiency for us. It creates a stronger connection with that family through the process. And it just overall will help the person that we're supporting feel supported in many different directions. So this next year, we really have a focus on that. We have some different things that we're putting in place. We created what we call a mini discovery tool. That's something that will help us, like, when Kaylee's going to IEPs earlier on, to help parents understand, help them gather the information. And not only that, but just to establish practices at home that will lead to things that can translate into skills and employment. So, we also just realized that we want to get back to our roots. Mark First was created by a group of families, and we want to include families and their thoughts in what we do. So this is a big goal for this next year. Really lucky, this team of job coaches and job facilitators, everybody's taking this on. They are working to put those structures in place. In addition to that mini discovery tool, we're also, we have a great person, her name is Diane, and she is working on some employer tools as well. So just finding ways that we can involve more people and grow those supports throughout. And, all of this is really that main goal of getting that person to a place of independence. We really just, to be able to have all that support is what's going to make it possible for each person to find that right job where they can do those things on their own and get them through that way. Another thing that COVID has kind of taught us is that, and this has been a really enlightening thing, really, is that people have done more things independently than maybe we expected them to be able to. So some of the folks who have been at home have been working, from home to find jobs. And then we've been able to support them from the start of that job onward. So, with that realization, that adds not only the efficiency to the process, but just that recognition of, hey, like they're capable oftentimes of a lot more than maybe we even realized. And so we want to look towards finding those innovative ways to continue that. There's been a lot of those types of things, wanting to continue some of those positive pieces that have been going on. So, the goal for employment is the first step, right? Employment's what we're looking for. We want to get people in those jobs, but that's not where it stops. Like, it is definitely a huge piece of what we do, thinking forward, planning forward. We want to make sure that the skills are a match. Like in the past, there was a kind of a different philosophy behind it. So people were getting jobs that were kind of pretty reliant on what job coaches can do to support that. But we've kind of made that shift. So what 377 funding has allowed us to do is to help people who have been in those jobs in the past maintain those jobs. And still, though, looking forward to the future with every new person coming to our program, our goal is to match that person with things that they will eventually be able to do independently. And so that's a really, it's something that we started with, a few years ago, but now it's really throughout the entire program. It's not just a customized piece. We have that throughout. And the way that we do this, we want people to stay in their jobs. We're very lucky. A great majority of the people that we have employed have been in that job for not only more than 4 months, which is one of the goals that you may see in there, but for years. We have people who have been in jobs for decades, and it's through that ongoing support that, those check-ins, maybe we're back in for a couple of weeks after someone's transitioning from COVID working at home to back to being on site. Or maybe somebody's supervisor has changed, and that just creates a whole new dynamic. Those are those critical moments when the funding that 377 has allowed us to go and be there for and do. It helps people to maintain that continuity. So we do have a waiting list, and it does continue to grow. I wish that weren't the case, but we are really hopeful that with these added efficiencies, with all of this planning, and with that spirit of collaboration, that we'll be able to do some things to rebuild. And we've also looked at some different ways to bill for services that will help to make us a little more stable financially. And then, while right now we're only kind of moving one person in at a time, we're able to do that because we're getting people jobs. We're getting them independent of their jobs, and that's how we're getting people off that waiting list. And so this is how we hope to continue to be a resource for our community in supported employment. And I think that's it. Any thoughts or questions?
Vern, you're on mute.
Am I off now?
I can hear you.
Okay. What is your current status in terms of with this employment environment? How many of your clients are actually working on a job?
Oh yeah, more than you would expect. So there were a few months where a lot of people were on sort of a hiatus, and then a lot have maybe at least 50%, probably more, that have started back up again. And then additionally, I think we've had at least 4 new employment placements to get people going as well. So we've really started to get back and up and rolling again. There are a couple of cases where, due to the safety of all the people that we support for our people living in our residential program, we've really been lucky in being able to work with employers to have a leave of absence that they will be allowed to take, and then start up again a little bit later.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Vern, I just pulled up the report I submitted earlier this week. And right now, 55% of our folks who are employed are actually still working. The other 45% are, just off because of COVID.
Sure. Okay. How much of your waiting list might have been UCP people that were sort of left in the lurch?
Sure. That one is a little bit hard to track.
Okay.
But we have, if I were to guess, make a guesstimate, I would say that at least half, if not more.
Yeah.
That's a conservative estimate.
I think I found in my notes, there are about 60 people in this program currently. Is that correct?
60 people employed, and then,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
But some on that sort of COVID-related hiatus.
Has the COVID impact changed your strategy or approach in working with employers at all? Or are you focusing on that aspect of it, of trying to really penetrate that to open up more opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. It definitely changed things. One thing that I guess was kind of lucky on our end is that in the beginning of COVID, it did give us a little bit more time that could be utilized for planning. So we were able pretty early on to start doing phone calls with all of our present employers to do kind of check-ins on what's happening, kind of, just make sure that everybody was comfortable with what next steps would be. And then it's also allowed our job developer to spend some time researching a little bit more. So kind of the way that she does it is she gets a list, and she's looking through kind of different networks and things to identify employers, with the goal of, as we bring new people in and get to know them, help to find those matches and pursue those. But we've done a lot of things differently too. We initiated what we call remote job check-ins. So we've found ways to work with employers as well, in order to either check in with someone either at work or sometimes outside of work hours, just to see how things are going and to be able to support in that way. And that's something I think will continue into the future as well, beyond this time.
And how many job coaches do you have?
So right now we have and some of them are kind of half FTEs. So, or 2 of them are actually 0.75 FTEs. So we have 2 coaches doing that. And then we have two full-time coaches, a job developer. So basically 5. And the job developer still does some of the other work of job coaches. So essentially 5 for that direct stuff. And then right now we have Hannah and Jack, who are working on the case management piece of it. And Jack also does quite a bit of that too. So of the check-in type stuff. Sure.
Okay.
What kind of jobs are they working in?
The folks who have just gotten jobs, or the ones, just the relationships that we have in general?
Well, the relationships in general.
Oh, sure. Well, we've had a very lasting relationship with Country Financial. There's quite a few folks that have been there for quite a long time. And that was kind of a program that was developed together between Mark First and Country. We've also recently really started to grow that relationship with Illinois State. So we have a number of folks who are employed in different areas. A lot of it's related to food service there. And then we've additionally also kind of added, and this has taken a very long time, added State Farm to that too. And I hate to, speak of this ahead of time, but one exciting thing that happened a couple of weeks ago is that Microsoft reached out to us from a national level. They had heard about kind of the best practices that Mark First uses through APSI, which is an organization that Mike and I both belong to. And then they reached out to us. And I think, it sounds like most of what they do is just near Seattle, but they're reaching out our way. So hopefully, knock on wood, that will go through as well.
What about grocery stores?
Yes, grocery stores, definitely Jewel, Osco. We have a couple of folks there. I'm trying to think of other grocery stores right now. Yeah. And then just some of the smaller businesses as well.
Right.
And there were some things that were about to go into place that just haven't due to COVID, but that are kind of right there waiting for us when things get back to a somewhat normal state.
Thank you.
And I just want to highlight, the customized employment process. And a quick question before I get into that. When you said like the mini discovery tool that you guys are using, is that for everyone, every participant in the program, or is that the ones that are doing the customized employment?
Sure, that's been kind of a big change in the last year of how we look at that. So we used to look at it as someone goes through this intensive, extensive, customized employment piece as being separate from the other folks that we're supporting. And we realized with that time commitment that we would have to do something in between. So the customized process, what it helped us do is divide things into 3 phases of really discovery, getting to know somebody, and then job development, finding that good job match, and then systematic instruction, the way to promote independence for everyone. So right now, what we try to do is we try to use that third one, that systematic instruction. So anyone who's getting a job, we try to use that customized approach for every single person in that process. And then for others, what we try to do is just look and see where their skill sets lie, where their level of independence lies, and just evaluate how much they're going to need of any other of the pieces of that. So some people might have a really great skill set, but their communication makes it really difficult for them to talk to an employer. It happens. And so what we would do in that case is we'd use some of those customized pieces of the job development and then apply that for them. And then someone who really does face a ton of challenges may need a little bit more of that discovery piece and getting to understand their skill set better.
Okay, so I just wanted, if you could highlight 2 things for the board is one, like that customized employment piece, like the discovery piece. And it sounds like, it depends on that individual and their skill set and their need, but that can be it could be a lengthy process because you really want to get to know that person, their family, their interests, get to know all of those things before placing them or helping assist them, like what would be the best job. So just really highlighting, like, this isn't necessarily, taking Joe and being like, oh, here's a job. Like, there's a lot that goes into that preparation before they're even, depending on their needs, before they would even be placed, or I hate the word placed.
Yeah.
I really like the word placed, but before they would even look at potential job matches or job opportunities. And also that the way that the state pays supported employment is based off of like milestones, if I remember correctly,
There's a couple of different processes. And so there are a couple of different ways that people are funded or can be funded. So say if it's someone coming out of school, they're normally going to go through our Department of Rehabilitation Services, our DRS funding stream. And when they do that, they would normally go into what we call the phases piece of that. So in those phases, and this is part of the problem that we've encountered and a lot of agencies have encountered, is that the state made a change in the way they do that. So they used to fund us hourly, whereas now when they do it through phases, it's just this chunk of money. And so for those people who are needing that greater support and more time to better understand them and what they need to be able to be successful in a job, is paid at exactly the same rate as someone maybe who's coming in and who is very, has these skills just set in place and communicates well. And so it's just this chunk of money that's given, which is wildly insufficient. And that's one piece of it. And then the other funding piece is for those who are on the Medicaid waiver. There can be hours billed to supported employment through there, but again, it's incredibly insufficient for what the services are needed, especially because a lot of what we do is one-on-one. So yeah, those are kind of those two streams, and then the 377 funding has been the stream that makes up for some of that as well. Does that, and then for the discovery, the piece that you were talking about, about the time for discovery, again, that's going to be kind of person dependent. But someone who needs what we might call the full discovery process, that is about 25 to 35 hours directly with that person, probably as much time as that in writing up notes and creating extensive profiles for that person. But what it does is it gives this great amount of information that can be that builds on the supports, like I was kind of referring to before, in terms of helping family kind of get on board with what that person's vision for the future looks like, as well as being able to help employers to really be equipped to start building what they might need on their end to make this a successful thing in the future. But with what we're hoping with, and kind of the thing that I was alluding to before, that mini discovery tool, it's really designed to take some of that discovery piece off, a little bit of that weight off of us, by including families, including teachers, so if we are able to start gathering that information earlier and including more people, then we won't have to do as much of that work.
And earlier, you mentioned something about the transition program, and we're going to have that later next, but what's the connection between that and the supportive employment program?
That's a good question, because yeah, last year it was all one, right? So yeah, it has gone both ways. So transition has been a piece of supported employment, but it has also been separated in the past. So the vision for the future is for it to be separated into these two categories, but with an understanding that we share a philosophical base that is similar, and that there is a great amount of communication between the two to ensure that there is a smooth transition process. And that would not change, even if we're looking at them kind of differently. And it helps us to look at them a little bit differently too, in terms of just their different funding. I mean, transition is almost entirely dependent on what the 377 funding provides. Very few communities in the state have one, and that, I mean, and those areas suffer greatly because of it. Yes. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, and I may be getting ahead of us here, so yeah. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
We have about 5 minutes left for questions on supported employment.
Ooh, I like it. It's a plan.
I don't know that this is a question, but I have two comments on the written proposal. One was in the agency overview, the second question was, how does your agency how does your agency incorporate this mission into daily organizational practices? I don't know who wrote that, but it was excellent. Just reading that paragraph was a great validation, I think, of the Mark First program. So kudos to that. The other thing I wanted to point out in the program description is that I think we have to be aware constantly of the fact that the national rate of reimbursement from DRS is $29. Illinois pays $16. Not good.
Yes.
And I guess just fully made me more aware of the importance of the funding that we do, because somebody is going to have to make up that cost, and obviously it's not going to be DRS. So thanks for what you do for less money.
Oh, thank you. And in fact, like Arizona's got it the best. They have a reimbursement rate, I think, of close to $200 per hour.
Wow.
How do they do that?
I don't know. Yeah.
You
that
gotta
might be
do it
overdoing it, but
Do you want
And
to know
this
how they
is
do
the
that?
oh yeah, does Mike know? Does Mike know how they do that?
Under the program objectives, clear at the bottom of that page, and you may have gone over this and I just didn't pick up on it. 20% of the participants have a modified, customized employment process, and 80% have the traditional. What is the difference?
Oh, good question. So what we might consider traditional in the context of that is just that they would find their jobs through typical, an Indeed, or finding jobs in that manner. And then the other 20% is kind of like we're more finding that match actively by looking at that person and then finding an employer who would be a good match for that person. But in a sense, I guess there are aspects of customized employment that reach 100% of people in a sense, because again, we do try to employ a lot of the techniques from customized employment in many of the aspects of what we do. So I guess we're starting with that 80% is conservative and the 20% to ensure that we are doing that. We would love that to move more towards that more customized approach as time goes on. So I think it's something that'll help us to gauge what we're doing.
Okay, Mike, how does Arizona do it?
So here's what I think. Here's how I think they do that. Most of the VR funding, the VR funding is passed on to the state with some requirements, but the states do have some latitude in how they reimburse their providers. And my guess is that they have been able to probably work a lot more efficiently than our VR vocational rehab, our state vocational rehab program does. I think that they probably coordinate better with their Division of Developmental Disabilities on how they support people with employment. My guess is they may have gotten away from shelter workshops there. So there's a lot of things that come into play. I sit on the State Rehab Council, and we are supposed to have some measure of oversight with DRS, and I can tell you it is not a especially effective or efficiently run division, and it hasn't been for some time. So they're trying to make some changes, but there's a lot of frustration with the lifelong bureaucrats who work in that division.
Yeah.
Kind of block progress and new ways of providing supports. So that's just my theory. They probably have a better VR system in their state, and they use their money better.
Well, it's nice to know they're doing it somewhere.
Yes.
That's kind of a sad report on our state, but not a surprise.
Amen.
Well, you're doing a great job in a very challenging environment.
Oh, thank you, Vern. Thank you all. I really appreciate your thoughtful comments and questions. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Ann.
And here's Kaylee.
Thanks.
So we do have the transition program next. Do we want to go ahead, and do we want to go ahead and get into that now for about 5 minutes early, if that works for you guys?
Sure thing. So I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of maybe a transition from the supported employment to the transition program. And then Kaylee will really be able to better describe the experience of it all. So just as we've been talking about before, we know that it is extremely important to have a continuity of services that help families transition between the school world and the adult world. This is a drastic change. It is something that is probably only relatable to maybe when a parent first finds out a diagnosis about their child. It's moving from a world where all of their days they're taken care of, and and they're in a safe environment and parents know what's going on, to a whole world of uncertainty. And one thing maybe I forgot to mention earlier is that for supported employment, for those who are not on the Medicaid waiver, it's one of the very few programs that is available to them. And so I know a lot of you guys may have heard about this before, the PUNS list. There are still tens of thousands of people on the PUNS list waiting for services. And so what that means is that, those children adult children who are of parents who are exiting the school system, whereas, maybe 20, 30 years ago, they would have been able to be eligible for services right away. They are waiting. They're waiting, up to, I think, on average, Kaylee, tell me if this is wrong, but on average, I believe it's between 5 and 10 years to be pulled from that list. Yes, and I've heard from a parent who works with us that in some cases it's been closer to 18. Then that might depend on a parent's financial situation, that type of thing. But so this is a whole new world, and again, it's the insufficiencies and helping people through that process is. I believe it's something that is, the transition program is really important, even just for the mental health of families moving through that time, which has huge impacts for our whole community. And I'm sure Kaylee, she's going to walk through, I think, some of the IEPs and the experiences that she has with parents along the way. But that transition program is so vital for all of that. But then also, as we work through making that connection between transition and supported employment services, we can build a real system that will allow for some continuity that helps parents understand, helps them be a part of what we hope to support them with in the future, and just build that. So build something where nothing existed before is kind of the goal of what transition does. And so from there, I think Kaylee's going to talk about just the different things that changed during COVID and what might change in the future. Talk about, we're all very excited about this, the Family Transitions Program, and then talk through that IEP experience. So take it away, Kaylee.
All right, thanks for the intro, Ann. So I'm going to start by talking about IEPs just because Ann touched on a few things that are really important, such as PUNS list. PUNS is one of the things that I touch on when I attend IEPs, as well as guardianship, SSI, Medicaid. And then I talk about adult options as well, such as our supported employment program, our developmental training program, and even residential options. All of those are things that parents need to be planning for in the transition process, but they're not always aware of that. So that's my main role when I attend IEP meetings. Over the last 2 years, I have developed a relationship with a teacher at Olympia High School and at Tri-Valley and El Paso High Schools as well. And I've found that the parents in those schools are not always familiar with the different resources that we have here in Bloomington Normal. And also, a lot of times they're not familiar with PUNS and the different things that they need to be doing throughout the transition process. So it's been really nice to connect with those families and help them kind of navigate through the transition and figure out what things they need to be planning for and what steps they can be taking now to prepare for that transition from high school to adulthood. We do have one student who attends El Paso, and she participates in our spring break program and our summer program, and she's always expressed interest in Transition Club, but because of transportation and the time that she gets out of school and such, it's not been possible. But with our virtual Transition Club program, which I'll talk about a little bit more, she's been able to participate this year. So that's been really cool to accommodate those students in the rural communities through the virtual programming. So Family Transitions started last week. We had our informational meeting where we explained to parents our vision for the group, but we told them that ultimately it is their group and we want them to help us build it and design it to give them what they need and what they're looking for. We sent out a pre-survey asking parents kind of where they were at as far as planning for that transition, what information they already knew about, and what they felt they needed to learn more about, and really what they were most interested in. So I believe we had 7 parents in attendance last week, and 100% of those parents said that they want to learn more about self-care for themselves as caregivers, and they want to expand their natural support network as well. Many of them expressed interest in employment services for their loved one, as well as residential options. So those are things we'll begin exploring in the coming weeks. We also had, I think, 4 additional parents or caregivers expressed interest in that program. So we're hoping to see our numbers grow as we get further along into the program. So we were given some seed money to get started from Illinois Prairie Community Foundation. That will last us through May, but our hope is that we will be able to start another round of family transitions in the fall. So we plan to take the summer off, as the summer can be a little bit busier with the School to Work summer program, and then hopefully we'll be able to resume that in the fall. And then, so with COVID, we've had to, of course, make some adaptations. Our summer program, what we did, since we were not able to meet in person, was we offered 2 meeting times, 3 days a week. We had a morning time and an afternoon time where we met with students, and we would invite guest speakers to come and talk to us about various things like volunteer opportunities and such. And whenever we did an activity where there were supplies that the students needed to have, my coworker and I would coordinate delivering those things to the students the Monday before programming so that they had everything they needed to complete the activity. One thing we did together was like a build your own kind of sign from a local shop here in Normal. And so we delivered all the supplies to them ahead of time, and then we did the activity together with the business owner through Zoom. So that's the same thing we're doing for Transition Club currently, since we were not able to meet in person, and the students started off virtually this year as well. So we are meeting via Zoom for Transition Club, and we're ready and willing to continue to adapt our programs if we need to continue to do so. I think that's all I have.
Oh, and just to add to that, I mean, Kaylee, will never say this herself, but the response from parents about the way that she and Jack handled that transition summer program was just amazing. All of them were very excited. They put a lot of work into that. I mean, I couldn't have even imagined how well that could have gone in that time. So just kudos to them. They just did everything they possibly could.
Kaylee, you mentioned the staff contacts you have at Olympia, Tri-Valley, and El Paso. How's it going with all the local schools? Do you have good contacts in local schools and able to keep them informed about what's available?
Absolutely. Local schools, I have a lot of contacts with because they're obviously larger. We've just noticed that those rural relationships are really starting to grow. And of course, that's where I feel I'm really providing a lot of the best supports, is because unfortunately, a lot of those families are not familiar with the different community resources we have here.
Right. There used to be a group of parents that met regularly to support each other and to support their families. Is that still happening?
We actually just started Family Transitions, which is pretty much, it's a caregiver support group. We started that last week on Wednesday. We had our informational meeting. I'm not familiar with any other.
Okay. That was it. I was aware of it at one school that was happening, because they just recognized the support they were going to need when their child left the public school.
Sure.
You know, to find out what's available. So you're rebuilding a parent support group?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with or aware of any parent support groups at any schools. The idea of a parent support group was actually brought to me by a parent at an autism housing committee meeting last February. She said, I just really need a place where I can go to celebrate my child's successes and even his struggles. And that's kind of where I got the idea for the Family Transitions group.
Well, I hope you're successful at that, because when I was on the school board, the need was really expressed a lot from very frustrated parents, not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
And I think one thing to add to that too is is parents in the end are probably going to have to be they're the only advocates that are going to make real change in this state, and helping. I think that's part of it too, is with what Kaylee's doing with families, is helping too to maybe help formulate those types of things that can create that greater change.
Right.
So I'm super excited about this program because one of the things I think that would be helpful to highlight is sometimes it can be really difficult to even get a kid that needs an IEP, because children that are on IEPs, the individualized education plans, or even 504 plans. I mean, not so much 504 plans, but there's so much accountability with a child, accountability on the school with a child being having an IEP legally, and they have to follow through with that plan. And kids that require IEPs, they're expensive to the schools. And so it's a really hard process for some kids to get them to be able to get them an IEP and to be able to have those services that they need. And so with the school, and we've talked about this before at site visits, with the school, they don't have tons of resources, and they don't have, this isn't their specialization, it's Mark First specialization. And so they're giving the parents the bare minimum because that's what they have. And so during those IEP meetings, and is it from ages 14 or from sophomore up, where Mark First would start to intervene, then that when they go to those IEPs, they are one of those professional advocates during those meetings saying, this is services that your kid could, this kid could do, or these are things that we see. And so even just attending those IEP meetings takes off some of that pressure of the parents, because they've had to advocate for that kid for that child's entire life. And then it always helps to have that professional just validate that parent and validate them, especially in the school setting, of these are things that this child could have. And so this is it's a really big gap between school, the IEP, then they graduate, and then what do they do after that? So this program is helping with that gap. So I just wanted to highlight, or you guys can highlight it more, as far as you guys made it sound really simple, but it's not as simple. So I just wanted to make sure, like, yeah, like kind of what Anne was saying, you guys may be being a little modest right now about how simple some of these things are that you guys are doing, because it's a lot of hard work to just be able to do what you're doing. And if you have the kids that have an IEP, like if they're asking you, like they want to do things and they're participating, like that is not simple either. So anyways, just wanted to highlight that.
I have a question.
Thanks, Amy.
I agree with everything that's been said, that this is a great program, and evidently it's a very innovative program. Makes sense. You know, you wonder why we haven't had it before, or why on earth we don't get other funds for it. But as I understand it, we will be providing 100% of the funding for this particular program. Is that correct?
Kaylee, do you want to take that one or you want me to?
I'll let you answer that, Anne.
Okay, so as far as salaries go, that's true. We've also been able to, and this is not every year, but we've been able to find some grant funding that does supply a lot of the material needs for the program. So with that particular grant, they're able, that's what, you know, those things that Kaylee was talking about throughout the summer, those gifts and things that were not gifts, but the materials that were needed to do activities and everything, those are supplied by an outside funding source. But that the salaries themselves and the really the root of all the program is definitely dependent on 377 funding.
Okay. Then another question I have, because I feel kind of illiterate here in some of this, but do I also understand that because this is a unique program for Mark, do the young people have to have a specific diagnosis, or that has to do with the IEP or funds,
yeah.
or what is that?
They do not have to have a specific diagnosis to participate in the transition program. Really, our only qualification is because it's just myself and my coworker, Jack. So since there's just two of us, really our only qualification for the program is, can they function in a 1-to-4 staff to student ratio.
Okay.
And the request for that additional half-time staff would change that too. So that additional half-time staff might have the potential for Kaylee and Jack to take on folks who might have more.
Okay, and I think I missed this someplace, but how many participated last summer?
16.
Okay, and the projection for this year would be how many?
It would be 16 as well.
16,
we usually
okay.
have 6 students in each group.
Okay, thank you. And you're requesting another half-time person for this program. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Phyllis, I'll just interject too that in addition to the 16 kids in school to work program, we also count in the number of the kids that she goes to IEPs for. And also we have a spring break program, which we weren't able to do last year, and our transition club. So it's all those combined. And I think in the application we thought we would see 90 students this year.
Okay. Thank you for that, because I also had that in my head, and I was looking through all these papers trying to find that. So thank you.
And just to quickly clarify, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, and just, I think, Kayla, you had mentioned before too, that the possibility of maybe, we'll have to just see how things work out, whether it's going to maybe be more people in those programs, or it might just be people who have greater needs that could be supported in those programs with that addition of that. Correct, Kaylee? Does that sound right?
Yeah, it could potentially go either way. On one side, the advantage to another half-time person would be that we could have a third vehicle for transportation, which would allow us to add more students, or we could just consider adding students who need a little more assistance to the program. It could go either way.
I just want to clarify on the earlier budget question as far as, so when I was looking at the budget, the total cost of, oh, like the total cost of the program. Okay, let me pull it back up. Oh, here it is. The total cost of the program is $154,000. And they're requesting $76,100. And then $78,000 of the program would be through either, they had, would be through a different funding source than the 377 board. So the 377 board would be paying about 50% of the total cost of the program.
And another thing that half FTE would provide is the ability to attend more IEPs. Kaylee, as one person doing that, she's in the relationships that she's built. There have been in some cases more requests than we can actually meet, and that other person would allow for a greater attendance.
I agree. This is a very good program and one that's needed.
Thank you, thank you.
I think
It's,
another thing that I've become aware of is what a drastic change this is for parents. I mean, a great change, but something that is probably pretty hard for parents to reach this age group of their children. So thanks a lot for thinking of those.
I
are you
think
expanding?
probably one of the most
I'm
important
sure-
programs.
Are you expanding beyond schools like ministers and, well, you have private schools? Because that's just more personnel, I know. But just to spread the word that what
just to
services you can
quickly-
provide.
And just to quickly clarify, before they answer, and I'm sure they have a great answer, that private schools don't have IEPs either. So that
Oh, they
was,
don't.
that's specific to public schools. They don't have to follow IDEA. It's the public schools that have IEPs. But sorry, go ahead, Kaylee.
No, I mean, that's the answer. The private schools do not have the IEPs, so I have only ever been invited to IEPs at the public schools.
Also, the programs also supports kids who are homeschooled. So
Oh,
there
yeah.
are participants.
Good, good. But what about ministers too? I mean, or do they even know what an IEP is?
I'm not even
They're
sure
go-
what ministers is.
They're gonna have parents that are really having some troubles trying to figure out what to do with their child when they graduate from school. I mean, a lot of your ministers are counselors. But that's another extension to your job.
I personally do
I think
not
it
work
takes a
with.
whole community.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Kaylee.
Sorry, Kayla.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that I personally do not work with ministers, but I know that we have had a couple come to us through our Meet Mark First events that have said, I want to give back and I want to be involved in this program. So we have had one minister actually, she wasn't personally involved, but she did allow us to use the kitchen space at her church quite a few times. So that's the
Well,
only
that's
involvement
nice.
we've had there. Yeah.
Well, this can only grow, as people find out about it. Because it's been needed for a long, long time. Thank you so much.
I just want to clarify because I'm a little bit confused, which is easy to do. So, Jan, what are you asking about the ministers?
Just information, so they know about this. So,
Oh,
that,
okay, so
so
can
they
okay.
know if they have a
Yeah,
parent,
yeah,
if they're working with
okay.
a family, what I mean, they're going to come in tears. I mean, what can we do? And they can refer them to this program, which is just wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you for that clarification. I was
Yeah.
lost. So thank you. That was
Yeah.
lost. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there still
And I do appreciate that thought.
seminars done by PATH about social services available in the community? Back 20 years ago, PATH did a lot of seminars, which were based on their PATH directory. And for acquainting people who work with all different populations that need assistance. And is this program part or listed in the PATH directory?
I'm not sure about that, to be honest.
Are you familiar with the PATH directory?
Yes, we have, I'd have to look at, I think when I updated it last time, I think we did include Kaylee in that as a service, but I'm not for sure.
And that would do, then the people that are working on 211, the 211 phone number, I mean, do they refer to that PATH directory and know where to send people, refer people to?
I think that's something that we can look into and double check.
Yeah. Yeah.
And additionally, I do appreciate the thought about just the connecting more with different aspects of the community.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does take a community to kind of get families through this.
Yeah.
And maybe again with that additional half-time person, that might free Kaylee up a little bit more to do some things like presentations, to do additional presentations throughout the community.
Yes, I'm assuming you guys will never not have people coming to you. I mean, being the mother of 2 kids on the autism spectrum, like it's my dream to just these kids not live with me one day. So, so it's like for them to just be independent enough to be happy and to be able to even, I mean, they're brothers, even if they have to live together in a house next to me still. So I'm sure that there's plenty of parents, plenty of kids with IEPs that are wanting your guys' services.
If they know about them.
Yep.
Well, they'll know about, if they have an IEP, they'll find out through the schools. Is that correct?
No.
No?
That's not correct.
The parent has to go to the IEP meeting, don't they, to find out?
I mean, parent is invited to, I mean, they have to make accommodations and options for the parent to be able to attend the IEP meeting, but legally the parent doesn't have to attend the IEP meeting. And no, the schools are not just stating this information to the parents. No, they're not doing that.
Didn't
So
you
it
say you, didn't they say they,
markers.
didn't you say you have brochures you're handing out?
Yes,
on
I
the
do hand
trend?
those out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do hand those out at the IEP meetings, but I attend those based on invites, which come from the teachers. So, there are
boy.
teachers who are really good about inviting me, and then there are teachers who may only invite me upon the parents' requests, or some who just don't
Oh, boy.
invite. So, yeah.
Hang in there.
Yeah, I really can be dependent on Kaylee's ability. I mean, it's great because she really is able to balance both the needs of the family and the teachers and how they're coming at it too. Because it really is based on her ability to do both of those things that gets her those invites too.
And Jan, kind of like what you're saying too, that like right now the way it's set up and it's a really small program is like what Kaylee was saying, like teacher invite, but like if it did grow and it got to the point of being able to grow and there was more options for like marketing or whatever, the parents can definitely, if they knew about the program, the parents can definitely invite Kaylee or someone on her team to the IEP.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? And so just kind of connecting back to what I believe Vern was asking Ann earlier. So ideally, for Mark first, that kind of continued spectrum would be if you guys could intervene at that transition level, start having these kids like supporting their families, their the caretakers, but also just connecting with those children and letting them know that they have options. There's plenty of jobs, you know, like they have a lot of special interests or gifts or whatever it may be, letting them know some of those options. So in some ways, like you're really even doing discovery during these IEP meetings and with that relationship with those, that family and those children. So then, you know, once they're done with school, anywhere between the ages of 17 to 21, then that would be maybe when Ann's team could also come in through like the supported employment and continue to, like Ann was saying, maybe with like, even if it's just communication, autism is a communication deficit disorder. So it could just be whatever they would need from supported employment. So that's how the two would, they're still separate participants, but like that's how they would be connected. Is that correct, Ann? Did I say that correctly?
Yes, absolutely. So that both programs function separately, but that there are mechanisms to make sure that there's a fluidity and a consistency to the way that they're supported between both. And you're right to mentioning as well that that mini discovery tool that we talked about earlier, like Kaylee will be involved in that, isn't already involved in that process of developing and kind of like sharing that with parents. And so that's exactly right. We're the ability to kind of bring that into those IEPs and to support parents at that stage just helps everyone.
I,
Any
for one,
other-
like seeing this as a separate proposal for us. I think it stands alone and should have its own identity. So, great. Anything else for this? Keep up the good work and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ann and Kaylee. Take care.
You too.
All right, coming up
sorry,
next
go ahead,
is
Jeff.
our pediatric therapy presentation. They're scheduled to log in at 11:55. I've given them an email to see if they can log in a few minutes early, but let's take a couple minute break and I'll try to get them on for a start at 11:50.
Thank you, Jeff. I needed a break.
That is a few minutes. No, got one more. Got a 5-minute break. Great. I'm just gonna wait.
Hi, Bree. Can we do a mic check for you? Not hearing anything, Bree. What, did you try talking? Still working to get our last couple presenters logged in, so it'll just be a few more minutes. Hey, Bree, we can see you. Can we hear you?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So sorry.
No worries. Glad to have you on board. And we are waiting on Christy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mike, have you heard from Christy? Is she having some technological challenges logging on?
I'm gonna text her and see. If she's down at the new space, I know that there's been some, they're still trying to get things connected, right? So let me just see real quick.
Mike, let her know that if she's having a hard time connecting on to like the go-to, she can also call in. So if she only has the option of the phone, then we'll take it.
Okay. She's trying to get connected. She's logging in now, so hopefully within a minute or so, I hope.
Yeah, I was just let her know. I mean, we can give her a minute or two, but again, like if she can't get connected, she can just call in. And
Right,
then is on the invite.
Yep. Let's see. There she is. Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Christy. All right, we are ready to go. Christy and Bree, you guys are on.
Wonderful. So thanks everyone for giving us this opportunity to spend a little bit of time with you and help you learn a little bit about our application this year. Bree's actually, Bree Dominguez is a BCBA that has joined our meeting today because she's really the expert and has a lot of knowledge about applied behavior analysis services. And since we're changing, you know, and looking at our funding going towards this service that we haven't been able to provide in our community before, Bree's really going to go in depth and kind of share a little bit about what that looks like and what that is and what it means for families. So, so we're going to take a little bit of time to kind of explain that. I know you guys are really familiar with our program in general. You have been such an integral part of our agency for so long. And so, you know, just a few highlights. We did change our name this year. We've been known as the SPICE program for many years. And we have adjusted our name to the Greg Chadwick Mark First Pediatric Therapy Program. So we're very excited about that. It better helps the community understand who we are. And so we're excited about that name change and further connecting us with our community in that way. So Bree, if you would like to take a little bit of time here to kind of explain and talk a little bit about ABA, and then some of those program outcomes that we've listed as far as goals for the program.
Absolutely. So again, thank you guys for this opportunity to kind of explain what, I mean, my passion, and I know Christy shares in this passion of providing ABA or applied behavior analysis therapy. So when we talk about ABA, it is the most effective evidence-based or scientific-based practice for kids on the autism spectrum. Typically, we follow the rule. When we think about therapy and starting a kid, we follow the rules of 3. So as close to 3 as we can get with the diagnosis for 30 hours a week for 3 years. 47% of kiddos are indistinguishable from their peers going into that kindergarten or first grade classroom. So looking at how intensive our therapy is, as much, we are all research based, so everything has a rhyme and a reason for what we do, but definitely being able to put those kids in line with their peers, get them caught up to their peers, quote unquote, but definitely have them be able to communicate their wants and needs effectively without demonstrating any of those challenging behaviors that we may see that could impede their learning, as well as, you know, being able to get them ready so that they don't need as much school intervention as well. So how it typically works is a kiddo receiving 30 to 40 hours of therapy a week, because like I said, it is evidence-based that is the most effective range of hours for a kiddo to get. Within that, they get 240 goals a year and are reassessed every 6 months to make sure that programming and treatment plans are appropriately created for the child. So everything is very individualized. We really learn how the kiddo learns best. We really focus on functions of behaviors and why the kiddo is doing what they're doing. So we definitely know how to teach specifically to them. And each treatment plan is individualized to the kiddo. Each family has their own individual family goals that they have to meet. So that, you know, skills are being met not only in therapy, but in other areas as well. We meet with parents, we meet with grandparents, babysitters, nannies, aunts and uncles, siblings even, whoever the kiddo comes in contact with, making sure that, you know, there's consistency across all areas of their life, as well as, you know, being able to have those tools and resources. So, you know, if they are out at the grocery store, they know how to have those effective communication and coping strategies, as well as we do communicate and work a lot with the schools. So being able to effectively get their wants and needs met across all areas of their life. Any questions? Christy, do you want to, did I miss anything? Did I forget anything?
I think that was a great overview about it. What's wonderful about the ABA services that we're trying to offer in looking at that best practice, but it also, you know, continues with our mission of educating families and working directly with families also, and the fact that the parents are going to be carrying over those activities at home. So whatever they're learning with the registered behavior technicians, which are the ones that are really working with the kids day in and day out, those services and skill sets are getting carried over to their home or school or wherever, so that they can be successful across a variety of settings. And so I think that really aligns with our business practice that we've had for many, many years, and working with families, and the fact that it's all very parent-led too. as far as what goals and things families need to work on for their child to be most independent and successful for school and beyond. So part of why we're asking for this funding is aligns with our mission too, that we want to make sure that all children in McLean County are served, not just those that have resources, not just those who have private insurance. And while applied behavior analysis is a very researched and studied therapy model for children with autism, our children that are on public aid their insurance does not cover this service. And so that's where 377 comes in, so that those children can still get this research-based support service, even though their insurance does not cover it.
Yes, and with that,
did
so
anybody have questions? Oh,
nope, go ahead. Any questions?
Vern, you're on mute. There you go.
All right. Am I live now?
you are.
Okay, thank you. I have to say that I had the privilege and opportunity last week to go to the open house at their new facility, and to be a little bit pre-taught about what we're talking about here on ABA, and the facility itself is just absolutely fabulous, and it's the environment in which this thing is really going to work as well. It's like 4,100 square feet compared to your 1,000 on Drive, and they had some youngsters that were in there and playing in some of these rooms and got to see that. So that in itself was a real educational part for me. And then we had the opportunity to do a little ribbon cutting on a plaque and a door and a room that has the 377 board plaque on that. So I wanted you to know that. So I was really taken by this and did a little bit more study, and I think they're really on the right track. This is another application of the ABA here, and as Christy said, this they serve throughout the whole county. This is one of the real advantages, I think, to the 377 board for the reach and the impact that this has. So I was really interested in that, and looking forward to a year from now when we look at how well this program has worked.
And this is what's really been fun. We have a client that recently started her ABA services with us, and she's been coming to the new clinic this week for therapy, and it's been super fun. It's amazing from the outside looking in, because I see her every day coming in, and just the progress that she's made in a week. She is greeting me now with a wave and a hi, which may not seem like a big thing to some of us, but for some of those little ones who have issues with learning how to greet people and socially engaging, it was fantastic to see her develop those skills over such a short amount of time. And she enjoys, I think she got to say hello to lots of people because we had lots of visitors coming through last week. So she had lots of practice at it, but it was
I got to
fun
spend a little bit
for change.
Yeah, I got to spend a little bit of time with her again this morning as part of my ongoing supervision. So our kiddos do get ongoing weekly supervision with me to make sure that, everything is being carried across continuously and effectively across those registered behavior technicians. But I am happy to report that, when she started with us, it was a lot of echoing back and forth that she would just say what we would say. But as of this morning, she has almost doubled her independent requesting of things. And instead of just asking for fish, she's now using 2-syllable words of goldfish or straws, or instead of, all the cheesy things are fish, she's now differentiating her mans of Cheeto and fish. Cheeto and goldfish. And then we also threw some Doritos in there just, you know, for fun. But she's almost doubled her independent mans just even in this short amount of time. So she's already making great progress.
I do have a clarifying question, Christy. So when I was looking at the application, it said for number of participants, it said for ABA, it said 2. So for the funding, is it still the pediatric therapy? So it's still everything that you guys have been doing. So developmental therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, the eating. So is it all of that therapy, some early intervention, and ABA for 2 individuals? So is that the difference between next year and this year? You would add 2 kids to be able to receive ABA services?
Yeah, just for clarification on that. So, you know, we provide a variety of services as a program, right? So physical therapy, occupational, speech therapy, counseling support, our developmental therapy services, feeding services. And so the funding that we're requesting is specific for applied behavior analysis services for 2 children. They're on the medical card, and that funding will cover the cost of that therapy service for a year for 2 children. Now, lots of the children that get applied behavior analysis services also might get occupational therapy or also might get speech therapy, but we're not asking for funding to cover that aspect of their treatment, because that we are able to get some reimbursement for that service. And so that's one of the things that's unique about us too, and the fact that we accept that Medicaid payment for those auxiliary services. And so that will be covered, you know, through us billing the state for that service. But the funding that we're requesting is specific for the child's ABA services.
So
Does
that's
that clarify?
$92,000 per child?
Correct.
Wow.
It's a very intensive service. If we think about 35 hours a week of therapy for an entire year, it's a big investment in a child. And what it is what we're doing is we're investing those dollars up front early on when they're young. So that we can make these changes now, because like Bree said, those children then they're able to go into a typical classroom with peers versus maybe a specialized classroom in school, which what that does then is that saves our school districts funding, it saves resources within our local school districts. It helps us create individuals who are more independently functioning as adults. And anyone who knows me, I have all these little sayings hanging around my office all the time that I find inspirational, and I feel like they really explain who we are as a program and what we do. And one of them that I have hanging up is it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. And that's, you know, the way I'm kind of looking at this and the way that I look at ABA services is we're making that investment early on to help build strong children so that they can be successful in school. They can be included in their regular education classrooms. And really, you know, we're asking that we're investing that money up front in those children so that that money isn't being spent down the road, you know, in other ways that are sometimes more difficult to make those changes.
And just to add on to the question about the money, that doesn't cover all of the services that are being provided. And maybe Bree, you could talk a little bit about those services outside the direct services that the funding would cover, things that you have to do.
So as what we're asking just for the direct service, so what they would get from a registered behavior technician. When we say registered behavior technician, these are people who have gone through a training and passed a certification exam to work one-on-one with these kiddos. They've been properly trained to provide this service. So they are going to be providing the direct therapy, those 30 to 35 hours a week that we're asking for. Additionally, each client will get 10% of their service hours. So, you know, whatever, if it's, you know, 3 for 30 or 3.5 for 35, etc., of supervision from me, the behavior analyst, to make sure that, you know, programs and treatment plans are being effectively run, as well as consistently run across staff. Make sure if there's any, you know, changes that need to be made, or if any outlying behaviors all of a sudden just spontaneously occur, we can get those addressed and taken care of, and behavior plans written, as well as parents meeting weekly, again, like we discussed, having those, you know, skills carry out on all aspects of the kiddo's life, as well as an hour to 2 a week of just program creation. These kiddos are brilliant, and they, you know, to keep up, sometimes you find it hard to keep up with them because they're so smart. And once they figure out how they learn best, they just skyrocket, and just their skill set just explodes. And each kiddo, you know, has these individual programs written for them. And so, you know, at least an hour to 2 a week, just making sure that they are being challenged and that they are getting the appropriate programming and treatment that they deserve and that they need. So, any other questions?
What is the screening process to determine which child, you know, limited children, number of children receive these services?
So we're putting together a packet because we know that we're going to get more children interested in this service than what we can potentially provide, you know, early on. And so we're putting together a screening process that families can apply to be part of this funding. And then we will review that to help determine which children would get into the program. You know, needing to look at who can commit to that, looking to make sure that we're being diverse and inclusive, and who is able to get into and receive those services.
So a question, the ABA process is new, is that correct? No.
ABA itself has been around for a very long time.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of research out about that. It is newer to our program. Bree started with us just this year. And so we're providing some ABA services and have hired in registered behavior technicians as part of that team. And so we're providing those services currently to children who have insurance. But this funding would allow us to expand that out to families who do not have resources. So that aspect is new.
Okay, so that was my next question, is there are more than two kiddos in the program, correct?
Correct. And our goal is to continue to expand the ABA program for the children also who have insurance, because that would help cover some of our costs for the children who do not over time.
Okay. So Bree is new, right, to the program. You said she
I am new
started
to Mark
this year.
1st.
And so, excuse me?
I am new to Mark 1st, but I've been in the field of ABA for about 7 years.
So are you the only, I can't remember, registered technician for this that Mark 1st has now?
So I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and the RBTs work.
That's what. Yeah.
Yes. So at this time,
Mark 1st has other. Mark 1st actually has other BCBAs that have been working within our adult programming for years. So it's it's a program that we're very familiar with in utilizing with the adults with disabilities. So Bree is the only one currently working within the pediatric program, but she also, we have hired in, correct me if I'm wrong, Bree, about 8 RBTs, registered behavior technicians, that are doing additional hours of treatment with the children.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
I know there's so many acronyms.
And Christy, so ideally it would be 2 kids, like best case scenario, they start January 1st and the funding for these 2 same kids goes through December 31st. Say that like one of the children starts and then for whatever reason they have to stop, then would you guys pull another kid at places that kid's place? So you would have 2 kids during the entire year, and if one kid stops, or you would put someone else in their spot.
Yes, our goal would be to serve 2 children throughout the year. If there is some reason that a family would need to terminate services, let's say they move out of the area, they can't maintain the commitment of, you know, being part of the team and working towards their child's goals, then we would bring on, you know, that as that child exited, we would bring another child into the program, so that there would continually be 2 children being served through this funding.
What are the ages of the children you're serving in this? Under 5?
Sorry.
A lot of them are under 5.
Yes,
Go ahead,
currently
Bree.
we have, sorry, I was muted there for a second. Currently we have kiddos that are in that 3 to 5 year range. But ideally we would like to get them on board as soon as they get their autism diagnosis. But primarily 3 to 5, that pre-kindergarten, pre-first grade age range. Because again, the idea is that we have them school ready by the time they go into class.
So like you guys were mentioning earlier too, so the 377 board hasn't funded like specific ABA services to my knowledge. And so, and you guys have done a great job explaining of like what ABA therapy is. But to just provide some more highlights and clarification, can you speak about some of just like the research, like you said, it's been around for a while, as far as like what the research states, like on, so it is an evidence-based program for kids on the autism spectrum. So just what the research is stating as far as what are the, why, like what are the benefits of one kid with autism doing this therapy versus another kid that doesn't do this therapy?
Absolutely. So like I said, like everything is evidence-based. All of our assessment tools are evidence-based as well. So we use the VB-MAP, or the Verbal Behavioral Milestone Assessment Placement Program, as well as the Vineland or the ABLES. So all of those assessments and what the kiddos' goals are based on are from those assessments that are research and evidence-based, that have been proven. As well as it is very systematic, and it is very consistent, and it is very linear in the way that things are taught, which again, the research has supported as the way kiddos' minds with autism work is they love that structure. They love that consistency. They love knowing the expectations of things in that linear form. So everything that we teach is taught in that linear form and is kind of coinciding with that, as again, per the research has shown. But the beauty of ABA is that ABA does apply to everyone. We may not think about it in the way that our brains work, that we understand that, oh, I do what I'm asked, I get reinforced for it. But ABA also, you know, applies to all aspects: animal training, organizational behavioral management, which is if you think of your rewards points, if you go, you know, to Panera or DSW or Costco or Kroger, those reward points are also an ABA strategy. So it can be applied to everywhere and to everyone, even though we may not think that way. But specifically talking about kids on the spectrum, it very much hones in on the way that their brains are wired, and the steps to teach them is very ABA and evidence-based. Does that better answer your question?
We have 5 minutes remaining before we need to log off. Are there any other questions from any of the board members or any other highlights from Bree or Christy or any of the Mark First team?
I assume you have found other streams of funding for the programs that we have supported previously in the SPICE program, which is now the MPT program.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Go
So
ahead,
we
Mike.
still have, no, we still receive funding through the state for early intervention services, which are under age 3. For 3 and above, we still, private insurance, and we still, like Christy was saying earlier, we do accept kids with the medical card. And then we also have some, foundation grants and fundraising that help support the program. So yes, we have various revenue streams to help continue the service. Nothing is being taken away with the addition of this program. It's a true addition to our service menu, and we're not cutting back on anything else. In fact, I don't know this. So what we've even invested. So before, all of our physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech therapists were on contracts. So we had a contract with each one. We recently hired 2 physical therapists, and is it 1 physical therapist and 2 occupational therapists, Christy, as staff, which we anticipate is going to add a lot of stability and consistency to the services that we provide.
Okay, so we can go ahead and Mark First. Thank you guys for all of your time this morning and going over the programs. Bree, welcome to Mark First. So we can have Mark First if you guys want to go ahead and log off, and then
Okay.
I think we're ready to adjourn. You guys.
Okay. All right, thank you. If you guys think of any questions, I mean, sometimes when you have these things, you go home and say, I should ask that. You can contact me, and I can put you in contact with other the people who are the experts in the various areas that we ask for funding. So
Don't worry,
it was
Mike.
very-
I'm gonna get a hold
thank
of
you
you.
so much. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Goal is to have questions regarding the presentations, the program applications today. And then to also make decisions on the funding allocation. So we are at the end of the year. These programs, whatever ones you guys decide to fund would start January 1st. So to know which programs you want to fund, and not only that, but also like at what cost you would want to fund them at. So they gave you your budget, the budgets, but of course you guys can do it at the requested amount. So you would have to know what amount you would do. And then
So I have a question, Amy.
Yeah.
The grading matrix, are we
Mhm.
supposed to fill those out and get those to you before November 19th, or how?
So it's really at your guys' discretion. So the grading matrix, so the preferences that you would get it back to us, and then we just track it. So then there's a systematic way of some type of rubric that was used. But it's really at your guys' discretion because it's just to kind of help see and compare if you guys want that option, but you don't have to have that option. And also just another quick reminder, let me pull it up before we get off of here. That the total amount of money that was requested is lower than the amount of money that is available. So the total amount of money that was requested is like that now. I have too many animals. The total money requested was $656,973.96. And then the total money available is $722,431. So the difference between the amount that is available to be allocated and the amount requested is $65,457.
I have a question. Is that something that we can, I mean, that we'll have a $65,000 surplus. Is that something that we can discuss at the next meeting on November 19th?
I mean, that would of course be Vern's decision on if that would be something you guys would discuss. But and also I think with like the timing, and I did send something to Vern about the behavioral health team. We talked about for 21, we are going to try to build some relationships with DD agencies and the community. But also another thing too is like the money doesn't have to go through the bidding process. And so one of the things that we talked about is maybe developing some type of initiative where like if there's kids in school that need certain materials or certain, I can't think of what, the words are like not coming to my mind, just certain accommodations, they need equipment, or like individuals that go to some of the DD agencies that they need equipment. So like if a kid has a developmental disability and they go to any DD agency and they need a certain device for a home, then maybe there could be a system to be able to provide that to them. So there are options, and there's money that you guys allocated this year. Like Catherine said earlier, Partnerships in Health didn't charge for 2 months. And there's a really good chance that there's going to be money from other programs that's not going to be fully used this year. And so you guys are going to have pretty significant amount of money in your fund balance. And so there are other initiatives that can be done with some of that money.
Phyllis, I think it's something that as a board we should discuss
Absolutely.
and think
Yes,
about
but-
this and how we might use the money and whatever. Yeah.
It is
But that
still
is something, I mean,
disturbing to me that we
Yeah.
do not have more agencies applying for funds.
Yes,
right,
we're all concerned
Right.
about that.
we've talked about that before.
Right.
Yes. And it doesn't seem to be
But
resolved.
Vern, help me out. This is something we should discuss after we decide the funding for the 21 year. Then we should discuss what to do with surplus. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that's right. Yeah. Right.
And how the third thing is how we present ourselves so that there are more agencies applying for funds. Because if
Right,
we have these
right.
surpluses, the money will be taken away from us by the county board.
Yeah.
Right.
And the social service
And I think
agencies
there's
need
plenty-
help. Yeah.
Right. There's plenty of need in the community. We just have to get on that
Exactly. Right.
after we figure out funding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Are we adjourning?
I think we finished here, so yes. And what
Good.
will we get in the mail prior to the meeting on the 19th? An agenda?
So yeah, Vern, if you can sometime before So we'll have to post it the second week of November, somewhere around there.
Yep.
We do have a couple holidays before the 19th, but yeah, if you can email me what you want on the agenda as far as just the funding allocations for as an action item, and then whatever discussion you want for different initiatives or whatever you want to call it for
Right.
the fund balance.
Right. Very well. Thanks for your time this morning. I think it went well.
Good.
Considering the
everybody.
Well,
Circumstances.
we got to get an adjournment first.
Okay, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
And I made the motion, okay?
Thank you. And second?
I
All in
second.
favor?
Okay.
We are adjourned.
All right, thank you guys. Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Amy.
You.
Aye.